Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. It might be WWT for a bit today, the Winnipeg Weather Talk. Oh, my God, what a storm we had in the city last night. If you are in Winnipeg and southern Manitoba, I know many of our listeners dealing with a lot of issues from last night, whether it's flooding in their area, whether it's their basement full of water, whether it's their car dinged from hail. That was an all-timer. We had a crazy day yesterday. We were down at the ballpark and had quite the view from a suite for a couple hours of that storm, and it just was relentless and never stopped. It does sound like we've still got a severe thunderstorm watch going on right now. There could be some more this afternoon, and I can tell you by looking out my window at the Assiniboia River, we don't need any more water right now. So hopefully that will be the case. We'll keep you posted if anything goes down. Otherwise, just hope everyone's getting through what was, I can't even remember in my lifetime if I even remember a storm like that was so relentless and here for so long. There was a hockey game last night. The Carolina Hurricanes got it done, and we got a 2-2 series, best of three, heading back to rally for Game 5. Whoever will win 2 games will be Stanley Cup champions, and very, very wide open race on the Carolina side for the Conn Smythe Trophy. We'll touch on that with Brandon Rewucki a little bit later on. And unfortunately, I didn't really want to go down this road, but I know while it hasn't been reported by Elliot Friedman or any of the top insiders in the game, man, we're getting a lot of smoke about Connor Hellebuyck trade request rumors. And people are talking about it. Many people are talking about it as if it has happened. I think it's important to get you the context of why people are talking about it, and you can kind of judge for yourself. So we've got a couple of the clips from the Game Notes Spit and Chiclet show, as well as Empty Netters. If you recall, Dave McCarthy came on the program and said something similar. So we'll revisit that and then talk about what that could mean for the Winnipeg Jets if the team does have to go down that road. Pat Gregoire is going to join us a little later on, and we're going to really dive into a couple things with Patty, some World Cup futures and everything around the World Cup. And of course, it is the RBC Canadian Open this week, our national championship. Great crew of golfers out at TPC Toronto at Osprey Village. So we'll touch on that as well a little bit later on. And of course, while we talk about all potential player moves, we got a draft coming up, and the Jets are picking at 8. Stephen Ellis has his latest mock draft, and we'll pick Stephen's brain as to how he sees the chips falling and who might be available for the Winnipeg Jets when they are on the clock at 8 in Buffalo. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, shout out to all you podcast listeners, and welcome to everybody on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also want to thank all of our great sponsors, including our partners at Coolbet, Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, the Tri-Hospital Lottery. Don't forget Friday, the deadline for the early bird prizes worth over $250,000. Get your tickets today at trihospitaldream.com. Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Breezy Bend and Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, St. Vital Dental Center, Rollies Transfer, Assiniboia Downs, the Gold Eyes, Travel Manitoba, Little Brown Jug, and Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and of course we will get to a Why Not question of the day for Not AutoCorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. Go time on the show. Remo, what's up?
Hey, Huss. Yeah, just recovering from that storm yesterday. Someone tell Environment Canada we're trying to watch the Cup Final, and my screen kept getting taken up by alerts. I didn't realize I had to hold exit for it to go away, but thankfully in my household, no water in the basement. I did have to do a bailout during the Wild Stars double overtime game last month or 2 months ago. But sorry to hear people who are experiencing some difficulty, some crazy pictures and videos coming out from the city and the province from yesterday. So recovering from that, but also, Stanley Cup Final, Bomber home opener tomorrow, and yes, we'll be getting to some internet rumors. I guess that's the season, Huss, that we're in right now. I remember a couple of years ago, we had Trotz Watch, Dubois Drama, did numbers for this channel, so I don't know if we're quite there, but but if people are talking, we're paying attention.
I mean, listen, much like, the guys in Edmonton, I mean, the numbers are great because there's just chaos around that team at all times. I mean, now apparently, if Babcock's going to be hired, the NHLPA's got to go through an investigation. It's not because of the ridiculous trying to get the players' phones. There was more things that weren't reported that need to be investigated. So that's their gift that keeps on giving. I would prefer to have a steady ship for the Jets moving forward and all in a good place. But there's big questions about this team, about this offseason, and it all gets a lot more interesting, albeit scary probably for a lot of Jet fans if all of a sudden there is talk about a Connor Hellebuyck trade. And listen, all I'll say is this. I don't necessarily believe all of this stuff, but when you hear it from a number of spots of people that are tied in some ways within the hockey world, it does make you ask if where there's some smoke, is there a fire? And I think it's certainly a possibility, but we'll get to that in just a minute. First off, the game last night, Reem. Carolina gets it done. We are 2-2 heading back to Raleigh, and another big game from former Winnipeg Jet Nikolai Ehlers, a crazy empty netter from behind his own net, but two big assists, including on what was the winner by Jordan Staal. Just an incredible extra effort playoff goal. And series on, best of three, back to Raleigh.
This series is incredible. You've had four very even, very tight games, two of them going to overtime. And just when you think you have a multi-goal lead, we've learned in this series, no lead is safe. Carolina up, 2-0, and then 2-1, and then 3-1. And Vegas makes it back to tie it at 3-3. And, we even had, the first period's over, you think it's done. And Braden McNabb, who's playing with a face that's all yellow from the bruising from taking the big slapper from Ehlers, earlier in the series, puts one past the goaltender, Bussy, who did get the start. And they had to go to video review, and man, it was close. Definitely was not in before time ran out, but it was tight. They had to review it, and this was an incredible game. And an overtime, game-winning goal with Jordan Staal on the ground, who scored, every game in this series, 5 goals now on the ground, saying yes, he got in after whiffing the first time. After Jarvis was not able to put in the breakaway attempt. Somehow the puck gets on Stahl's stick. It was assisted by Ehlers and back just past Carter Hart. And, the Carolina had the empty net earlier in the series and couldn't ice the game. But Nikolai Ehlers from behind the net caps his 3-point night, banking it off the stanchion. And that was a wild empty netter. So fantastic game again as the series is now tied 2-2.
Hey, you got to be good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And that was a very lucky empty netter. I mean, obviously he was not trying to score. He was just trying to clear it. But he got a nice stanchion bounce and it went into the net. And that was curtains for the Vegas Golden Knights. So as he said, we'll talk a little bit more about the series coming up with Brandon when he jumps on the program a little bit later on. Of course, tomorrow's the Blue Bomber home opener. Just a few tickets left right now. Bomber fans, listen, it's not going to be a beautiful 29-degree, sunny summer June night. It's going to be football weather. A little cooler, could be rainy, but much like the Bombers are going to show up, I know the Winnipeg fans will show up. So we'll save those beautiful summer days later on. And maybe, just maybe, between the fans, the weather, and the Blue Bombers, we can make it for a long, long night for the Hamilton Tiger Cats tomorrow night. The roster is out for the Bombers. We can tell you that Nick Dembski is in the lineup right now. I mean, really, the changes are out from last week. Dixon, Smith, and of course Jaden Woodby, who was playing, last week in the in linebacker. We'll see who goes in. I know Derek Taylor said it'll be interesting to see who get his snaps. First look at defensive end David Reese, and third round pick Charles Elliott Boulain for it. And Derek Taylor mentioned on Twitter was not aware that that Smith was hurt, but he was listed as practicing fully both days. But again, we don't necessarily know. And of course, Deshaun Dixon was put on the 6-game injured list. Michael Fletcher activated yesterday. So offense pretty much looking as it was last week. I know they had said that there was questionable designations on a couple of the guys that weren't practicing yesterday, including Dembski, but he's in, and it should be good to go for tomorrow's 7:30 start for kickoff for the home portion of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers schedule. If we have time, we'll get to a little bit of Mike O'Shea a little bit later on. But Reem, as I mentioned off the top, we're getting inundated with more and more. Now, maybe this is just people are sort of looking for things to talk about. Not that with the Oilers situation and Dylan Larkin, there aren't a bunch of reported legitimate things to talk about. But I have to admit, even as a guy that, I think of Connor Hellebuyck as the best player in Jets history, certainly the most decorated player in Jet history. And I am not one that's been lining up to send him on his way and move on to a new era. But as we know in 2026, especially coming out of that Olympic win, there is a lot of smoke going on around some of the players on the aftermath of the Dylan Larkin trade request with 5 years left that might want new scenery. And at some point, I guess we have to talk about it, or at least find out where this stuff is coming from.
Yeah, and we had the Dylan Larkin trade request last week, and you had Elliot Friedman on, on his podcast, 32 Thoughts, say, he's working on some other trade requests, a lot of chatter around Team USA members. Matthew Tkachuk, traded out of Calgary. Quinn Hughes, traded to Minnesota. And Dylan Larkin, are there other players? And we had the Connor Hellebuyck, end of season press conference where he expressed his displeasure with the season and how his goal is to win a Stanley Cup. We had Dave McCarthy on here back in April, and we have that clip saying Hellebuyck has no problem asking for a trade if he feels like they're not going to be able to put a winner around him. So, I got, people messaging me the clip from the Game Notes podcast, Spittin' Chicklets, where Matt Murley mentioned that he's hearing Hellebuyck requested a trade. But then I had to dig into what he actually said here. So we'll go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, let's do this. Now, let's take Hellebuyck at face value, because I've always said I think he doesn't really have much of a filter. I've always enjoyed him talking because I think he speaks pretty honestly. Now, there was the long pause that we all remember, but he was pretty outspoken that, they need to make some changes and need to be better, and that's what's important to him. If he's going to be around here. We won't speak for him. Let's just go back. Let's just play Helly first. This was at the end of the season, before the Jets went their separate ways. Connor Hellebuyck in his final media address with the Winnipeg Jets this year on Garbage Bag Day.
Can you get the pieces you need? Will the players come? These are always questions that you have in Winnipeg. I've made it my home and I like it here, but I think majority of the league doesn't feel the same way. You look at your young guys and who's taking a step, who's going to take a big step, and that's not my job. My job is to stop the puck and make sure I'm putting my best foot forward. So, for me, it's winning a Stanley Cup. That's my goal, and that's all I have left, and that's what I want in my resume. I don't play this game for the money. I don't play it for the fame. I do it for my own personal fun, and part of that is winning a cup. So for me, I'm just looking at how can I get that? How can I get there?
Yeah, well, listen, the money is not going to change. There's no renegotiations in the NHL. He's locked in, and there are plenty of years left on this deal, which in my opinion is one of the best deals in the National Hockey League, considering the guy won the Hart Trophy last season and has 3 Vezina trophies as the best goaltender in hockey. He said he doesn't do it for the fame, I don't doubt that at all. He's got enough fame after winning the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I will say this, though, Reem, he is jacking up or maybe jumping on that fame, or maybe people in his circle are, because it was interesting to note that the Hellebuyck official Instagram account has been launched and has actually been pretty active over the last little while.
I think he's actually been doing a really good job for a guy, as you mentioned, doesn't do it for the fame, but hey, well, the iron's hot. You got to strike, and he's known as the gold medal winning goalie, the guy who stole the game from Team Canada to deliver the first gold medal in ice hockey since 1980. And here he's got 44,000 followers. I mean, even when you're done hockey, you can do a lot with that. And credit to him for showing off his USA team-used gear. Close your eyes, Canadian hockey fans. Did have a good time, taking advantage of opportunities that you can do when you're the gold medal winning goalie, like saying or being the grand marshal at a NASCAR race and taking your family to that. So that's really, I got to say, that's probably really exciting. And I think everyone, every athlete should have some type of social media, because the opportunities, I don't want to say are endless, but there's a lot more out there when you're active and you have a personality.
Yeah, listen, this is my read of the situation. I haven't talked to anyone about it. I mean, I don't think that all of a sudden that, Hellebuyck went and changed as a person. I mean, he was famously didn't care about social media, wasn't on it, whatever, and now all of a sudden he's a big TikTok guy and Instagram guy. No, I think the people around him, namely his agent and people that are, responsible for, promoting him and getting side deals and whatnot, realize that, for someone of his stature, they needed to have a place for, deals and whatnot to come out. And I have a feeling the management team went and set it up. And they probably say to Andrea, his wife, hey, we need a picture of Connor to do this, or is there anything he wants to do? Send us the pics. We'll take it from there. Like, I don't think Helly's sitting there on his phone for 2-3 hours a day cranking out Instas. So that's just where I'm at it on this. But, I mean, listen, there's a lot of people that have been talking about, the Team USA aftermath, the celebrations, winning together, and that, as we saw in basketball before, many of these guys kind of wanting to team up. So is it true? Is it just speculation? Well, so far it's just speculation, but there's more speculation coming on. Now, a lot of this comes from the Game Notes podcast. Matt Murley does that. That's part of the Spittin' Chicklets sort of family, if you will. This is from a couple days ago, the Game Notes with Matt Murley talking about this Hellebuyck rumor. This is where a lot of what you're hearing right now started.
We got one more. We got one more guy I heard requested a trade. I heard it on the Empty Netters podcast, the Powers Brothers. I heard it from some other sources. Connor Hellebuyck has asked for a trade.
No, is that rumor, boys? Or is that
they said they heard reports on it. I've heard it from other people, and they said they mentioned Florida as a destination for him.
Wow. Yeah, Bob's like 41, right? Is he up this year too?
He's up.
Wow.
Can you imagine that move?
Wow, is that real?
All right, so I mean, this is far from Elliot Friedman putting out, we have a trade request. It's like, I was listening to these other guys' podcast, and I've heard it from other sources. Now, listen, those guys, particularly the Chicklets crew through Whitney, pretty dialed in amongst USA hockey circles, I would say. Very, very successful show, so I don't doubt that they've talked to some people. And listen, it does make a lot of sense. I mean, Florida is a prime destination for all of the ancillary reasons, and they're a hell of a great hockey team that had a down year due to injuries this year, but they'd won the previous 2 Stanley Cups. And if all you're doing is looking to hatch your wagon to a team that has done it before and could likely do it again, that'd probably be a pretty good place to do it. There's $10 million coming off the books for Sergei Bobrovsky right now. Hellebuyck has an $8.5 million cap hit for the rest of his deal, which again makes the piece that the Winnipeg Jets have, if they were ever going to trade him, to me that much more valuable. But again, this comes down from that clip that we just said. So he was listening. He heard it on the Empty Netters podcast. Remis did some digging. This is the clip from Empty Netters, apparently, that got got Murley saying that these are the reports that they were speaking about, if you want to call them that.
We don't need to spend a lot of time on this because there's not much, but reports are coming out that Connor Hellebuyck has officially requested a trade.
Interesting.
We have no confirmation on that yet, but it's being chatted about because a lot of people were bringing up that Hellebuyck to the Buffalo
Sabres would be no.
And now it's starting to be rumored and people are questioning, has Hellebuyck actually asked for an official trade? And what is hilarious, dude, people keep bringing up Florida.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I don't know. Reports, like what constitute a report? Reem, I mean, there are all these reports and all these things. Is that, or are these just people kind of spitballing stuff that if he wasn't going to get traded, it does probably make sense that a team like Buffalo would want him, and certainly the Florida Panthers?
Yeah, I don't know what reports these guys are referring to. Are they at the Cup Final and having conversations with people? To me, a report is when, a Big J puts their name out there like Elliott did last week and says Dylan Larkin's requesting a trade. So I haven't seen anything. I don't know if these guys, were just using different terminology. I don't know how connected they are. But then, like, it's so funny how this game of telephone works. Like, they go on their podcast, say, we're hearing reports. Sounds like Florida. By the way, none of this is confirmed. And then you have Matt Murley going, yeah, I heard it on the Empty Netters podcast. But then he said he talked to other people as well. So again, I don't know. I do believe when there's smoke, there's fire. But as far as an official report being made here, I don't think that this is it. And like, did they just see it on some of those fake Facebook accounts that post AI crap all the time that are endlessly on my feed? I don't know, but people are texting me, is this true? And I don't know if it is or isn't. We're just saying, hey, this is out there. This is what people are saying. As it was getting, that Murley clip was getting thrown around. And I find it funny that he said, I just heard it on this podcast from the clip we just played. So, and they said it's unconfirmed. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Now, and listen, I'm not going to hear and say that this is all bogus. It could happen. One thing I think that we need to know, like, let's just look at history here. Evander Kane wanted out for a number of years. Asked for a trade every year. I said, okay, Evander, well, if we got a deal that makes sense, we'll do it. See you at practice. The Jets aren't going to be forced to trade Connor Hellebuyck for 50 cents on the dollar anywhere. Mark my words on that. Much like Steve Yzerman is not going to be pushed into a locker by Dylan Larkin and say, trade me to one of these three teams. Thank you very much. See you later. But I do think it, and as I said, this is a conversation that goes back to end of last year. The thing with Hellebuyck is that amongst the entire core, to me, he's the linchpin. If something like that did happen, that completely changes the course of the team. And that does go to more of a rebuild, if you will, or a complete rebuild over a rehaul of the roster, because it probably means another player or two, would be on the move as well. Some people say that's exactly what the Winnipeg Jets need. I'm not, people have their own opinions. But when more of this stuff comes out, we kind of have to talk about it, but there hasn't been anything legitimate right now. That doesn't mean that it hasn't happened, though, because there's no better team, maybe outside of Detroit, when they want to, like they did with the Larkin situation of keeping things quiet. And I don't think there's any benefit to Hellebuyck to have this get out if it was legitimate, because Chevy very well may not get his price. And if that's the case, then Hellebuyck's going to be back here. And you certainly don't want to be in a Dylan Larkin situation coming back if they don't trade you, where all of a sudden you're vilified in a place where you were beloved for so long, waiting to get that trade that you demanded. So here, just Stephen Ellis is going to join us in just a minute. Here's one more clip. And frankly, Reem, this might be the most legitimate piece of Hellebuyck speculation on a trade from anyone. And it was on our own show from Dave McCarthy, who, of course, lives in the center of the universe, probably is, hobnobbing with many of the insiders who work out in Toronto on a regular basis in and around Leaf games. This is what Dave said on our program from the 21st of April.
Yeah, so I was told before Jets locker cleanout day, you're going to want to watch to see what Connor Hellebuyck has to say. And then I was told that what I said in the report there, that it would not be surprising to be played elsewhere next year. Now, I'm not sitting here guaranteeing that he is out, but what I was told and what we went on to hear from Connor himself at Locker Cleanout Day suggests is that he will not be afraid to say check, please, if he is not content with the direction that this team is going in the very near future. And that could be as early as this offseason.
Now, so just to summarize before we get to Steven, like we heard, that's Dave at the end of the year. We heard what Hellebuyck had to say at the end of the year, and it was, let's see what happens with this team. Everything that Hellebuyck said will be basically bogus if he said that went away. We haven't even got to July 1st or the draft yet, and a trade request has been made. So maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle. Nevertheless, we'll be talking about it here on the program. I will put out the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray to all of you in the chat. When you hear all of that, I mean, do you feel that there is legitimacy to this? Or is this some click merchants just trying to, take advantage of something that could have some basis in reality and get a run on the internet? Let us know in the chat right now here on WST. All right, just before we bring in Stephen Ellis, don't forget, gang, to get your tickets for the Tri-Hospital Lottery before Friday at midnight, so you're in for all the amazing early bird prizes. Of course, the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery is in support of the HSC St. B Hospital and the HSC Children's Hospital. Early bird prizes include one winner who will get the choice of a Land Rover Discovery Sport, the Land Rover Range Rover SE and 50K, or a 26 Benz G580 SUV valued at $245K or $210,000 cash. And there'll be 25 more winners of $500 cash as well. Got to get your tickets by midnight Friday to make sure you're in for those draws. And of course, then you'll be in for the grand prize as well. You can be Manitoba's next millionaire. $1.35 million cash, or one of 5 dream home packages worth over $1.7 million. It's all in support of a great cause, the important hospitals that do so much great work in our community. Get your tickets now, tryhospitaldream.com, or pop by your local Red River Co-op location or London Drugs to grab that as well, all for a great cause in the Tri-Hospital Dream Lottery. Shout out to our friends at Clean Line. I have a feeling the Clean Line crew is busy today after that all-time storm we had last night. I've been telling you for a long time, when you need 24-hour emergency services, keep the number handy, 204-500-2001. The line's probably ringing off the hook right now with the amount of water in basements from what happened last night. You can find out more online at cleanline.ca, but they're Winnipeg's most trusted plumbers with over 40 years of fast responses, lasting results, and 24/7 emergency services across all of Winnipeg. Again, 204-500-2001 for emergency services. Got to shout out our friends at Manitoba Battery. Summer is fully underway, whether you need batteries for your boat, your RV, your motorcycle, and ATV. Manitoba Battery has it all at the best prices in town with the best customer service. Stop wasting time and money at the big box stores where you can shop local and get the best deals in town. And of course, our friends at Manitoba Battery working and powering the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this year. Wish big success to the blue and gold heading into their home opener tomorrow. You can visit them on Logan Avenue or Dover Court Drive, or order online today at manitobabattery.com. And don't forget, folks, if you have a move planned this summer, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba for over 60 years. Go to rollys.com and you'll see at the top right corner, request an estimate. Put in the promo code WST there for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. The friendly staff at Rolly's will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they have been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, make it Rolly's Transfer, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today online at rollys.com. All right. Let's step away from some of the offseason scuttlebutt right now to something that we know is going to happen, and that is the draft in a couple weeks in Buffalo. And our guy Stephen Ellis from DFO joins us now to talk about his latest mock draft. Stephen, what's going on? How are you?
You know, can't complain. It's hockey all the time, every day. Good Stanley Cup Final. It feels like it's been a long time since we could say that. So, good time for hockey, I'd say.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Good time to put the finishing touches on your highly anticipated and awaited mock draft. We spoke about 3 weeks ago. Just fill us in from your perspective when you're kind of whittling it down. Most of the hockey's finished outside of the World Championships, and we'll certainly get to that. What goes into the final version of the mock draft? Is it the players, or is it more sort of intel from other people and just trying to read the cards, if you will, as far as good fits for players with teams that are, in the top 10?
It's a mix of all of that. And even though no one's playing right now, you're still watching video because there's hundreds and hundreds of prospects and you only have so much time to be able to look through all of them. So you try and go and see whatever you can find about guys. You talk to people, try to see what everyone else is thinking type thing. And then you're looking for the right fits. I remember there was 2024, I think I had the top 5 100% correct in the mock draft. That's hard to do. Mock drafts are very hard because there's so much of us guessing, and every team is going to be having, different needs than what you might see online, and kind of what they feel the top 10 or top 15 is could be completely different than everybody else. And I know a lot of teams don't have expansive draft boards. That's partly because, they are drafting who they think they're going to need, who they're going to have. They know their plan, if they're going to make a bunch of trades or not. So they might not need a draft board of 200 players type thing. So it's difficult. And you're also trying to merge which guys make the most sense now, and what a team might need now is going to be something that might be a completely different need down the line. A lot of teams would be we need more right-handed defensemen. Fair enough. We don't need as many left-handed defensemen. Well, yeah, but by the time that player's ready, you might need some left-handed defensemen. And the needs could change over time. So you're just trying to always look, best player available versus, drafting for need and hoping that best player available position situation's different or close enough, and then you balance it out. So it's definitely not easy.
Starting off at 1, is McKenna a lock to the Leafs in your opinion?
I'd say it's about as close to a lock as I feel comfortable saying at this point, because, a lock, it's you're going to hear a lot of rumors up until the final minutes of the draft, but it makes the most sense. They need a guy who can go out there and be a creative playmaker, who can go out there and be super dangerous offensively, and that's the guy who's going to do it the best. I think the real kind of telling point there is you can ask 10 different scouts who the second best player in the draft is. You might get 3 different answers. That's where it feels like most of kind of think Gavin McKenna is the guy to go for. I know a lot's been made about his college season. Not a lot's been made about the fact he had one of the more productive second halves by a draft eligible player in NCAA history. He's playing 21 minutes a night on a team that didn't have a lot of offensive weapons. I know they were near the top of the standings kind of throughout the season, but you look at a lot of those guys that are not, or that were big contributors, and not many of them are expected to be NHL players. So for him to go out there and do so much at a young age, I think it's pretty special. And you can also make the argument, well, he was getting hot. Stenberg was not. He didn't have a great second half. That being said, Stenberg was playing against pro hockey players. He was learning from pro hockey players. He then played a top-line role at the World Championship, which, for the record, I'm glad that we didn't see McKenna play, because you saw that roster. I know they ended up losing to Norway in the bronze medal game. Norway just wanted that significantly more, I think. That was just the hard work. That effort was just a really good effort there. But Gavin McKenna was probably going to be your 14th forward. He was not going to play, so that wouldn't have helped his draft stock. I will say, from seeing him in person at the start of the year, seeing him in person at the World Juniors, and then seeing him in person last weekend in Buffalo, this is a guy that's put on a lot of muscle. He looks a lot stronger than it did a few months ago, so I'm not worried about him adjusting to the NHL whatsoever.
There's been so much talk that it was sort of a 2-horse race. I mean, it was McKenna and it was Stenberg. And interestingly enough, you've got Stenberg falling to 4. That just speaks to the differing opinions, or is this more the needs of a team like the San Jose Sharks, who you have Chase Reed, the top defenseman, going off the board?
So, in my draft rankings, I have Stenberg at number 2. But yeah, my mock draft, it's number 4. And part of that is many people, many scouts have Chase Reed and Ivar Stenberg so close together. Like very, like you can make an argument for either a war. Like one's going to be potential top line forward, the other's going to be potential number one defenseman. So what's more valuable to you? Given it San Jose picking a number 2, it feels like it makes the most sense to go out there and take Chase Reed number 2. Then you got to look at what's the best for Vancouver. Ignoring who the coach was, it always felt like Malhotra was a good fit for Vancouver because the Canucks need a center. I think that's something they could use anybody in their pipeline. It's a weak pool, and they're just starting the kind of the rebuild phase. I'd also watch to see if they can find a way to acquire another first-round pick. It's going to be difficult, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they can move their the 24th pick and one of their early second-round picks and try to move up higher and maybe get another valuable guy. But if you're going to build a pipeline kind of from scratch, because again, we're talking like a 25th best pipeline. If you're trying to build out the future, what should you target first? A center is what every scout will tell you. And I asked guys at the combine, they're saying a center makes a ton of sense. So who's the best center in the draft? It's pretty much Caleb Malhotra nearly across the board. It's a good fit. Would I take him as number 3 at Vancouver? I would hate to pick the coach's son.
That's insane. That is just an insane thing to do. And we saw it here in Winnipeg when Maurice quit on the Jets and left, and Dave Lowry took over. His son, Adam Lowry, was on the club. And like Lowry, this isn't even a rookie coming in to try to earn a spot on a team. This is a guy that was a beloved leader on the club and, wasn't at that time yet the captain, but in the eyes of many was. And even he spoke to how difficult it was to sort of be playing just because of the dynamics in the team. Like, listen, I think I've heard that Manny Malhotra wants the opportunity for his kid to go and basically be able to earn it on its own. I mean, this seems like a bad idea on a number of levels, and we've seen examples of it here in Winnipeg in the real world.
Like on merit, Malhotra to Vancouver makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
He fits the need, an outstanding player. I think there's still a higher ceiling maybe than some people really expect him to have. I think this is a guy that developed so quickly this year, and he's not done. That being said, the pressure of okay, does going to Vancouver mean hey, we might fast track you, skip college, come try out for the NHL team this year, see what happens? Does it mean, okay, you're going to be guaranteed a lot of ice time right away? Like if Manny Malhotra is a super smart guy, and I assume he is, given all the love he's been getting, what he was able to do in the AHL, and the fact he got hired as an NHL coach, that he won't just give his son a free ride here. It's going to have to be you got to earn your role here over the next couple of years. I guess the other argument is, if you're the Canucks, who do you think lasts longer? Caleb Malhotra as your number 1 center, or in theory number 1 center, or Manny Malhotra as your coach? You almost kind of think you want it to be the player that lasts longer if you're going to be investing that much. And we know that coaches come and go all the time. Maybe they see Manny as kind of just like the bridge, trying to get these young guys into bigger roles. And then when they're ready to compete, they bring in a different coach. Like who knows if maybe that's the move. So
I mean, just from my perspective, I mean, you're just asking and taking on a whole bunch of potential problems that are unnecessary, that are probably not great for the coach, certainly not good for the player. And you just wonder how everyone else, kind of reacts to it, and what the reaction is to other moves, or who's playing. Oh, he made the team. Oh, why is that? Oh, it's the coach's son. Like, you can't escape it. So listen, I know there's a lot of people that have him going there. I'll just be on the record that there's a lot of risk involved that I'm not sure, especially with the other players that are available that don't seem to be. And you think about the Sedins running the show there. I mean, they know a lot about Swedish hockey. Stenberg, they're available for you in this scenario. It would be pretty wild to pass on him.
I will say, if I'm the Canucks, I'm hoping the guys they just hired like a month ago are not the ones making big decisions like that, and you would trust the coaching or the scouting staff. That being said, I wouldn't take Malhotra number 3 just solely because I think you'd be leaving some value on the table with Stenberg there. But I talked to a lot of guys at the combine who are like, yeah, even with the potential I wouldn't say conflict of interest, but seeing the father-son situation, most were like, yeah, it still makes the most sense for the Vancouver Canucks from a hockey perspective. They're serious about winning in the long run. It's still the right move. So it's interesting.
The guy that, a lot of Winnipeg Jet fans have their hearts set on and realize that it's unlikely he'll be there at 8 is Carson Carrolls. And, Mike McIntyre, the Winnipeg Free Press, did a great piece. He went out to the farm and Cypress River, tiny little blip on the map, and got a chance to look at him off of hockey, working on the farm. And we even heard from the interviews at the combine that Carroll said that, you know, he would love to play in Winnipeg, would make a lot of people happy, and he's such a small town guy. Almost, I didn't want to say that, it almost sounded like he was kind of very apprehensive and scared about being in a big city. And you have him picked by the New York Rangers at 5, which is literally the opposite of where he is right now. Is this just a matter of he is a prospect that a team like the Rangers saying, we'll find a way to make it work? He is a player that, you know, can be the backbone of your blue line for 10 to 15 years, and that's why you have to make the pick. And over Keaton Verhoff, maybe just thoughts on that, because you have Verhoff going at 6.
I think Carroll's is the safer pick over Verhoff. I think that's part of the thing here. Like if it is close, you're looking at one guy with a little bit more upside in Verhoff, or looking for the guy that's already looks like he could probably play in the NHL next year. Not that he should, but Carson Karls is a guy that I don't think gets enough love from the general community. Now, when it comes to players talking about, you know, where they want to play or the teams they would be happy to be drafted by, none of it matters at all. It doesn't matter in the slightest. But what I'll say is, this is a guy that many scouts believe mentally strong, should be able to handle the pressure, could play anywhere. And I would be very shocked if by pick number 6, he is not there anymore. If he's not, if the Calgary Flames come up there and they don't take Carson Karls, I'd be surprised, assuming, again, he's still on the board. So I find it would be very unlikely he's going to be a Winnipeg Jet. 2 names I would be looking at: Albert Smits, big defenseman of Latvia. I'm more of a fan of Daxon Rudolph now at this point, though. I think with Rudolph, it's a guy that you watch him, nearly 30 goals this year. Prince Albert's best player by a mile throughout their WHL playoff run. One of the most productive defensemen in any league this year. And the big concerns about his game, you know, a little bit passive defensively and maybe not physically strong enough. Watch him go to college next year and figure that out. He's going to be fine. So Daxon Rudolph's the one I'd be getting really excited about at this point. He doesn't seem to be getting a lot of love, but watching him play on one of the best teams in the entire CHL, and he was the best player essentially every single night, that's a guy who deserves a lot more attention.
You know, I did see one of the books had Daxon Rudolph up at like over under 7.5. So it would certainly be over where some people are seeing that he would be taken. Listen, the name that we really kind of locked in here in the peg over the course of the World Championships is Viggo Bjork. And it seems like a lot of teams have been taking notice of him. He sort of has been one of the real stock risers, it seems, lately. You have him going at 7. Talk to us about Viggo at 7 and the chances of him not being available for the Jets at 8 when they make their pick.
I think with my next mock draft, when that comes out on draft week, based off of talking to people at the combine, I think might be closer to 10 or 11. We'll see kind of what happens there. I think the thing is, not many scouts believe he's got high-end offensive potential. And if you're using a pick that high, that's where there's some issues. Like, he's very skilled, and he actually had a really good World Championship. But the question is, you know, is he going to be someone who's going to be able to play drive at the next level? Is he going to be able to put up a ton of points? And I think a lot more scouts feel comfortable with him as a number 2 center and being a very good number 2 center. I know he's small. I would be shocked if he wasn't among the hits leaders on Sweden at the World Championship. Like, they don't really make those numbers public, but he was hitting everybody. He was afraid of nobody out there, and it was very impressive to watch what he was able to do. So I think when you look at him, it's very an interesting prospect. If you take him with that Winnipeg pick, I think you wouldn't be upset. I just feel like a defenseman makes a bit more sense because they need more defensemen in their system. And but Viggo Bjork, fearless, loves crushing guys, loves getting to the net, getting physical. And I would say there was actually a lot of games where he was better than Ivar Stenberg at the World Championship. So I'm a big fan of his game.
Well, and listen, I mean, he's not huge, but there is something to his game that I think most people feel that he plays a much bigger game than what the package is. And that level of compete, I mean, it's one of these things that it's so, it's not as tangible. It's not, he scores this many goals, he does this. But we watch the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. I mean, that level of fight in players is something that truly does separate some of the talented players with the ones that really excel, especially at the most important times of the year.
Yeah, like you watch guys like Zach Benson and Nick Suzuki, and I feel like he's kind of somewhere in there. I think the two-way game is a bit more Suzuki, and that like dog on a bone, I'm going to be annoying at all costs. Zach Benson style really kind of fits him there. So I like that combination. I feel like he's a guy that's not going to back down to anyone. There's two ways of looking at a small player. There is legitimately small, not physically strong, gets pushed around a lot, plays to the perimeter, and then there's small but strong, and that's more what we're talking about with Viggo Bjork. Like, this is a guy where if you're looking at him and saying, "Oh, he's a soft European player," you're looking at the absolute wrong thing here. Like, this is a guy that could probably knock down guys, a foot taller than him with ease. Like, he's very, very like he's got this mentality of I'm going to win every single shift no matter what it takes, and I feel like he does it more often than not.
Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff here with us, talking about his latest mock draft. So Jets on the clock at 8. We have Viggo Bjork, Verhoff, Carols, Stenberg, Malhotra, Reed, and McKenna off the board, which gives them a choice in this scenario of Tynan Lawrence, Albert Smits, Daxon Rudolph, amongst others. You have the Jets jumping on Albert Smits. Instead of Smits is available, the Jets should absolutely target him. What would why does the match make sense? He is a left-handed defenseman. They do have a number of those, but it sounds like this is a player that's been playing with men and is ready to come in and contribute and projects to be, a top pairing defenseman long term.
He is one of the more confident players in this draft, no question about it. He really believes in himself, and I know some teams may be a little turned off about that. I think from an actual hockey playing perspective, there's a lot to love, and you can tell that confidence is there all the time. And he took him a bit to kind of figure it out once he started playing in Germany to finish the season, but he played really good hockey in Germany. Loved him at the Olympics, thought he was great at the World Championship. He was playing 23, 24 minutes a night, overtaking guys with a lot more pro experience. And I think the one thing that can be kind of overvalued is like seeing that a guy in his draft year has played pro hockey, because in reality, like most European players, if they hadn't played pro hockey, will do it the following season type thing. But with him, he's so physically mature, he's strong, he's smart, and a couple scouts say that he's probably a better playmaker than he gets credit for, because it feels like a lot of the plays he's making are high-end plays, but he's not passing to high-end players. It'd be interesting to see what he could do if he was passing to a guy like Mark Scheifele out there or Gabe Velarde, and see kind of what type of production he could put up. Moritz Seider is the name that gets thrown around a lot with him. I think there's also a bit of Mike Matheson, the way he moves the puck. So you put that together, like you're talking about a guy who has a pretty, the ceiling's top pair, the floor is second pair, but he's going to be a good defenseman in the NHL. I have no doubts about it. The first time I watched him play, I'm like, this reminds me a lot of watching Moritz Seider at the exact same age. If that's the comparable, I think you'd be pretty happy with him.
Who do you like? I mean, you kind of mentioned Daxon Rudolph earlier, and he's now going in around 11 or 12 in your spot. Rudolph, right-handed defenseman. Smits left. Other than that, I mean, the differences. What are the pros and cons? If you're the Winnipeg Jets, you say you want a defenseman. What would make you side with either based on what they bring to the table?
Well, if you look at a guy like Rudolph, I think it's the offensive potential there. Like, he's a guy that can probably, no problem, score 10 goals in the NHL, probably get more than that. He could be a power play quarterback, first or second unit. So there's that, like, watching his offensive game, there's a lot to like. I feel like I mentioned before, defensively, there are points where he's a bit passive. But I think college is going to be able to be kind of a course correction there, because he won't have that time and space he often did in the WHL, and he's going to have to make quicker decisions. And it feels like he's really good at adapting. We've watched that throughout the year. Like, there are points where he needed to work on his skating, and all of a sudden you saw, like, second half of the year, he looked a lot quicker than he was in the first half of the season. You watch some of his decision-making under pressure. It got better. It still needs some improvement. There are points where he gives the puck away, doing like a little fancy backhand in their own zone. But I feel like there's a lot to like there. I feel like defensively, Smits is better, and that's kind of what you're also looking for when you're drafting a defenseman, someone who knows how to play defense. He's good there. I think there's less offensive potential. So it's kind of like one's more offensively gifted, but maybe not as strong defensively, and the other's better defensively, has those offensive instincts. We just haven't seen it kind of come together in a really impactful way yet. Again, you can go either or, and I think you're going to be pretty happy.
Got to ask you just before we go about the Ruck twins. Led the WHL in scoring. I guess Liam's thought to be a first rounder. The twin brother, maybe not quite there. They'd love to go to play together. Do you think that happens, and where will it be?
If they are not together, it feels like a mistake. I think when you look at what they both do, they're just so good together. Like Liam's more of the goal scorer. He's a bit stronger. Marcus is more the playmaker, but I think he works harder. So I think you can make a really good argument. Like both of them could go in the first round. Liam is definitely the one that's getting more love. I think the reason why we're not talking about them maybe a bit higher is they don't necessarily play with a ton of pace. And a lot of what they do, a lot of their big offense is just kind of standing still. That is going to kind of hurt them in the next level. And I believe they are returning to the WHL, which those are two guys I would have liked to see play tougher competition. It felt like they dominated shifts a bit too much this year. That being said, Medicine Hat's going to not be as good next year, so they'll have an opportunity to play a lot of minutes and be effective there. But I do think in general, we're talking about two guys who could that will read each other better than anybody, who are very smart and clearly have that chemistry, and were clearly super productive this year. So I hope the team that drafts them gets both of them. Like if you're going to pick Liam first, you better get Marcus second. Otherwise, you're not getting them at their full potential, and that will feel like a mistake.
Steven, always love chatting with you and appreciate your time as we get closer to the draft. When's the final one coming out? When is the Stephen Ellis stamped? This is it. No more mocks. Expect this to happen on Friday in Buffalo.
So got the Monday of draft week. I'll have my second to last mock draft, and then I will have a top 64 come out the morning of the draft, and that's where all the second guessing and the few hours of like, oh, is this really what I want it to be? Is this really what I want it to be? And then the draft comes, and you're like, okay, come on, teams, make me look smart. That's what
Hey, respect the process and enjoy it. Thanks so much for doing this, dude.
Yeah, thanks so much.
You can check out the latest mock and all of Steven's work over at Daily Faceoff. All right. Hey, Princess Auto Stadium will be rocking tomorrow. If you don't have a ticket yet, there's a few left. Get it. Throw the blue on and get ready to kick off another Blue Bomber season. While Princess Auto Stadium is the place to be tomorrow night, place to be in the city right now is Princess Auto in that new Superstore flagship location at 500 Panet Road. I have a feeling that considering what we got last night, it's probably a lineup when they opened this morning for pumps and everything else that was needed after the weather catastrophe that we went through yesterday. It needs to be seen to be believed. Grab yourself a beer, an ice cream, a smash burger, try a crossbow, step into the workshop. It's all waiting for you at the new Princess Auto flagship store, 500 Panet Road. And of course, you can find out more online at princessauto.com. Our friends at Chud's Power Sports are rocking into summer, and so can you with a trip out to Chud's at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for over 80 years. They're actually doing some Cove Moto demo rides at Markdown's June 20th. If you want to do demo rides on the Cove Motos, that is June 20th up at Chud's. You can ride it, feel it, decide for yourself. We saw some of those when we were out there doing the show at Chud's. They looked so cool. But in addition to the Cove Moto Ride Day, they've got the best in ATVs, side-by-sides, golf carts, boats and outboard motors, RVs, ATVs, motorcycles, and more. You can check them out online at chudspowersports.com. But don't forget the incredible selection of used inventory as well if you're looking for a great deal. And they've got awesome financing programs as well, and the most experienced staff in the business to help you get the best deal and make the right choice on your next purchase. Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore in Gimli, Highway 8 and 231. Check them out online at chudspowersports.com. Got to give a big shout out to our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Big summer coming up. Many of you want to get that cleaning or checkup done before you head out on holidays. Make an appointment at stviteldental.ca. Of course, St. Vital Dental Center has been taking care of generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road with convenient free parking right behind the building. and they're taking care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of services from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Anything to do with your teeth and your mouth, Dr. Terry and his staff can take care of you as good as it gets in the biz. Make the appointment, stvateldental.ca, and tell them the boys at WST sent you. And hey, folks, Friday's the day. Canada starts their World Cup quest on home soil for the first time. Boston Pizza is your World Cup headquarters. We'll have all the World Cup games on the big screens with specials and prizes and your chance to win a grand prize trip for two to the World Cup final in New York. And don't forget to book Friday afternoon off, wear red, and head on down to Boston Pizza for viewing parties at every local Boston Pizza Friday, June 12th at 2 p.m. They're giving away Team Canada jerseys, World Cup swag, and BP is also giving away 3 massive Trianda Authentic World Cup balls from Royal Sports. And I think I'm going to be heading to Toronto for the game. I think that Remo and Connor might be doing the show a little earlier, might move the show up to noon on Friday so they can finish up with the WST business before you all throw the red on and get ready to watch Canada on Friday. But World Cup begins tomorrow, believe it or not. And then Friday afternoon, it's on for Team Canada. Make your plans to get together with your gang at your local Boston Pizza. All right, Pat Gregoire is going to come on. We're going to talk a little RBC Canadian Open and a little World Cup. But right now, let's dive into more of our top story, Hellebuyck rumors, the Cup final. Let's bring in Brandon Rewucki from Skates and Plates now on WST. That this segment's brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers in the Toyota Tacoma, featuring the standard I-Force engine and an impressive towing capacity of up to 6,400 pounds. It's the most powerful Tacoma ever. And the available panoramic multi-terrain view monitor gives you a live underfloor view to navigate even the toughest terrain. You can experience power, capability, and convenience with the Toyota Tacoma. Visit shoptoyota.ca during red tag days right now. I did sort of think that the Canes and Spurs were in very similar situations going into Game 4. They didn't get the job done on home court. It was a disaster for the Spurs losing the first 2. But after winning Game 3, you go in on the road down 1-2. If you down 3-1, but to be honest, I really feel like if the Spurs win Game 4, they probably win the series. And I felt the same way about Carolina last night, and they got it done. And it seems like Carolina has the momentum, and Vegas has to be spooked. I mean, even in the games that they have won, they've been, in my opinion, maybe somewhat fortunate to do it. I mean, especially that insane Game 3 on the weekend. But the thing about Vegas is whenever you think that they're done or out, they come back with a better performance. So Game 5 should be not only high stakes, about as high stakes as you can get, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's the best game of the series, at least from the coach's standpoint, because I'm sure they've both been driven crazy by what they've seen at times from their own team.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you kind of, we've been anticipating, or maybe going in was thinking like, okay, 2-1 hockey here. Hopefully we get, a couple of goals and a couple of shots each period. And it's been the exact flip of the spectrum there. So, I just don't think this is a series that Big Mo is even invested in, right? Like, Vegas had everything going for them after 2 straight wins. Carolina bounces right back. Vegas is up big in Game 3. Carolina bounces back. Carolina has 2-goal leads. Vegas bounce. So, like, again, I think to legitimately sit here and go, this is what I think is going to happen in Game 5. I don't think any of us really have an idea of what's going to take place there. But I think ultimately, the way I look at it is can a team win? If they lose Game 5, can they win Game 6 and Game 7 with the way and how intense this is played out? I don't know if I necessarily see that taking place. So it's the most pivotal game so far, no doubt. I do think Carolina needs it a little bit more than Vegas, in my opinion. And if the Hurricanes can take Game 5, Vegas is great, but like taking down Carolina in back-to-back games with the cup on the line, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull another one out of their hat there.
Well, what's funny is that in every series, I mean, the first couple obviously were tight. Well, the first one was tight. It was a sweep, though. They ran through the Flyers. Montreal actually, had that first game and, was on the verge of being up 2-0, and then they weren't. And then it was all Carolina. They do get better, I think, when they get more comfortable with their opponent. And we're certainly seeing them do that right now and did it in a big time last night. But the crazy thing is we think about Aho and Svechnikov and all the guys that have been carrying it. I mean, it's Stankoven, it's Blake, it's Stahl. I mean, the winner last night. I mean, that's that sort of playoff moxie, extra effort. I mean, there's no X's and O's for that. That's just wanting it and getting a bit of a good break on an incredible effort play.
Yeah. It's pretty wild too that Brind'Amour hasn't really shuffled his lines up too much. He made the one slight change, I think, putting Martinuk up with Aho and Svechnikov. But other than that, it's just basically we're rolling with it. It's hard to say one way or the other what's going to happen. It's been a disappointing playoffs for Aho and Svechnikov in particular here. And so you can look at that in two ways, right? If they get going, they're really going to be a tough machine to slow down here. If it continues, Carolina's we've persevered through it so far. Why not just get 2 more wins out of it? But the Brandon Bussi thing is the intriguing, I guess, subplot or side note, if you will, of the final couple games here, because as we all expected, no goalie in the NHL was hotter in streaks than Brandon Bussi this year for Carolina, right? And so it was a bold-ass move by Brind'Amour to make that call, but when you need 3 wins in a short amount of time, as unlikely of a hero as he may have been earlier in the season, now that he's rolling with it, maybe this is just what he does, and they're gonna ride the backs of Bussi for a second Stanley Cup in franchise history.
The wildest thing is, just before we move on, when we're talking about Conn Smythe, it's pretty clear that if Vegas wins, Mitch Marner's going to probably get it unless Brett Howden has another 4 or 5 goals in the rest of the series. But with Carolina, before it was Freddie Anderson, if they go replace him and win the cup with Bussi, I don't think he's getting it. And then you go down the list. There's so many guys that have absolutely contributed and been big parts of big wins, but there's no obvious choice. You could literally pick between probably half a dozen guys on Carolina that would be in consideration for it. There's no real clear front runner.
Yeah. Tough to give Freddie the Conn Smythe when he watches his backup with the final 3 games of the Cup Final. It's funny because Marner's, I think, the clear front runner for Vegas, but is his counterpart Nick Ehlers then the front runner for Conn Smythe for Carolina? Ehlers and Stahl would maybe be the next 2 up. Although, it's tough because Stankoven, Blake, and Hull are almost like this. It's tough to separate the 3 because they've just been so great. So then if you go to an individual, do either of those guys? I don't know. I really don't. It might come down to what happens in these final 2 games, Huss.
Well, you're right. And honestly, I think that will be the case. I think there's a bunch of guys that have the opportunity to win their team a cup, be the hero, and maybe get that trophy as well. I guess we'll see what happens coming up in Game 5. But let's move to elsewhere around the National Hockey League. And let's just say that the internet streets are busy right now with rumors, with innuendo. Some things out there, obviously, the Dylan Larkin trade request has been a hot topic, his 3-team list. But as Remis and I spoke about early on the show right off the top, there seems to be more and more rumblings about Winnipeg Jet goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. Now, I'm not sure whether this is a bunch of people taking some bar top conversations and listening to what he said at the end and just putting 2 + 2 together. I do know that if he was going to request a trade, it would be both in his and the Winnipeg Jets' best interest if that was kept under wraps. Certainly the Jets have been incredibly good at doing that. But with a player of Hellebuyck's stature, at some point, it's going to come out. And listen, I don't want to give too much credence to people just popping off with random things on podcasts and then aggregators taking it and running with it. But there is an element of where there's smoke, there's fire here. And I'm, if you're a Jet fan that thinks that this is the guy that is the linchpin of the entire operation, you can't help but maybe get the heebie-jeebies as more of these conversations happen around the hockey world.
Yeah, and I mean, on top of it, it's an easy marriage, right? Like when you're talking trade, that the aggressive Florida Panthers have an opening in net, and they also have a top draft pick and maybe a young center. It's so easy that anybody can say it, because it's like, yeah, that's probably, if it did go down, ultimately what it would look like there. I think the other thing people forget, and then maybe this is with the Larkin thing too, is just that, like, just because a player makes a trade request doesn't mean he's immediately moved. Like, we see relationships salvage all the time between team and player, where, but I mean, really on either end, right? Where, you know, somebody either wants out or they want the player out. But because it's not an ideal fit, they don't go through with it, and potentially, you know, it works out for all parties in the end. So, I think it's just something we'll keep an eye on here, because again, you could even make a trade request, Huss, and it's along the lines of, you know, I'm interested in looking at my options elsewhere unless this team improves big time, right? That's a much different trade request than a Dylan Larkin saying, I have a frosty relationship with my GM and I want out because we can't win, right? Like those are two very, very different discussions and conversations that are to be had there. So the one intriguing, what is a subplot now, but might be a main talking point moving forward, is going to be if Larkin is just the first of many American Olympians that are looking to change destinations here. You kind of heard a little bit of smoke right after the Olympics, and you just wonder if, and Elliot Friedman kind of put something out there that I'll paraphrase, but he's working on a few potential trade requests, and I wonder if maybe a Tkachuk is involved in that. Hellebuyck is potentially in the mix, maybe a captain of a Canadian. Like I just wonder a little bit about that, and how much control all the GMs in the NHL ultimately have if a situation developed like that.
Now, listen, I hope that Steve Yzerman sticks to his guns, and I know Kevin Cheveldayoff will. I mean, you can say what you want about Chevy, but he has been at his best when dealing in situations where I think people have counted the Jets out, and they've come up in a far better situation than what most people expected. And the Dubois situation is the best example of that. And what, 1 year left. I mean, we're talking about, with both Larkin and Hellebuyck, NHL All-Stars that have great contracts and cost certainty for 4 or 5 years. I mean, I would argue that Hellebuyck and his contract is right up there with the best in the league. And again, you know, we're talking about a player that I know a lot of people like, oh yeah, trade Hill. Like, this is the best player in the history of the Winnipeg Jets. It's the most decorated player in the history of the franchise. He's a 3-time Vezina Trophy winner. He won the Hart Trophy last season.
Yeah.
So if you're even considering trading the backbone of your franchise, it's got to be worth it. And I mean, there's no gun to the head of Cheveldayoff for the Winnipeg Jets to make some sort of move, which tells me that if a trade is going to be made, Cheveldayoff's going to get his price.
Yeah.
Now, let's just talk about Florida for a minute, because I think there's another part of this as to what happens if something like this did. But first and foremost, and I'm with you. I mean, the Florida spot, like with Bob and 10 mil coming off the books, if they could find a way to get Hellebuyck in at 8.5 for the next 5 years, I mean, that is the perfect situation for the Florida Panthers. And I think everybody knows that. So does Cheveldayoff. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the 9th overall pick, and you mentioned the young center. Like, if Bill Zito is on the horn to Chevy, I'm saying, Bill, don't even call me if the name Anton Lundell and that pick is not part of what you are looking at. And conversely, if there actually is a trade request to Connor, you're telling him, listen, you know the way we operate. You know, my job is to this organization, this city, and this franchise we love having you. You've been a great Jet, but if we're going to move you, it has to make sense for us. And that may take a while, and there may not be the price paid. So you got to be ready to play. And hopefully, and that's why you need this to sort of be quiet. The minute it comes out that the guy wants, fans turn on players. I mean, imagine Dylan Larkin showing up and being in that first game lineup for the Wings after what's happened this year, presumably with the C stripped off of his chest. It would be a disaster. You don't want that here. But Lundell, the 9th pick, something else. I mean, does Florida consider that? Because to me, as I said, I don't even take the call if those two pieces are not part of what you're talking about for a guy that's won 3 Vezinas and was the MVP of the league 12 months ago.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's where my doubts about this trade going through actually are, because I think you're bang on that if you're Kevin Cheveldayoff, that's the price, end of story. Like you're not budging on that. If you're Florida, you're saying based on historical trade precedents, that is an unfair return for what you're looking for. And he would be exactly right in doing that. And so it becomes a who's going to blink first situation. I don't think Kevin Cheveldayoff is going to blink. Now, is Zito aggressive / desperate enough to potentially acquiesce to the demands of the Jets at that point? I have my doubts, but maybe they do. Or maybe there's another piece from Winnipeg that goes back the other way to balance out the value. But I that's truly how I think it's going to play out, that, you know, unless Bill Zito is just kind of like, damn the torpedoes, we're trying to win 1-2 more cups in the next few years, he pulls the trigger, he gets it done, then it goes through. But if not, I think, like you said, Kevin Cheveldayoff is more than happy enough to say, Connor, you've signed for several more years, and unless we get a deal that matches what we have here, you're going to play goalie here for several more years.
You know, when you say historically says that would be an overpay, is that because of the position? Because yes. I got to tell you, we know how important goaltending is, and we also know that Hart Trophy winners don't often get traded a year after they win that award. And if you put it into those contexts, I don't think it's an overpay at all.
I mean, it's a fair point. And there's just been so few goalies of Hellebuyck's caliber moved in general that it's tough to really get an idea of this is what it costs. It's just that goalies in general have always gone for returns much less than what their value actually is. Whether it's fair or not, that's just fact. I mean, really the closest ones would be like the Ryan Miller trade. But again, you know, he's, I think, a pending free agent at that time.
Yeah, it was a deadline deal.
He goes for a package of, you know, a first, you know, but a pretty big package of assets at the very least. Corey Schneider might be the closest one, but even then he was like a platoon goalie, but putting up some of the best numbers in the NHL. Coincidentally, he went for the 9th overall pick. So then is Hellebuyck worth, like, is Hellebuyck's value so much more over Schneider that he's worth a potential 1-2C in Lundell, depending on what you think his ceiling is? And like, he could be, but like, it's just tough because if you're basing it on what's taken place before, nobody's been moved that's been as good as Hellebuyck as a goalie. So that to me is just the big tipping point. That I think we're kind of on the same wavelength there. That like if Zito says you've got a deal, I do think Kevin Cheveldayoff would accept that if Hellebuyck demanded or requested a trade out. If he doesn't get that, I think 37 starting game 1 next year. So
now what's interesting about this, because I think we have to speak in the realm of possibility that something like this does happen. To me, the biggest question is if that did occur and Hellebuyck is moved, and you get the young center that you love, and you know you get the pick, and you're kind of now openly saying, okay, we're a little bit more in the future. What happens next? I've always believed that we can talk about Scheifele and Connor and even Josh Morrissey, who's got less term on his contract, you know, as part of this core. To me, Hellebuyck is the linchpin for everything. And the minute that if a Hellebuyck trade happened, then all of a sudden you're talking about a massive shift in the direction of the club, which to many people are supportive of that. Like, it goes from a bit of a retool to a rebuild, or just a major changeover of the roster.
Paradigm shift. Yeah.
Like let's envision a scenario where we get to Buffalo for the draft, and the day before the first round, let's just say this hypothetical scenario, Florida pays the price that the Jets want, and Hellebuyck is a Florida Panther. How does that change the status of the other core players of the Winnipeg Jets? And might that speed up other moves, or would it just be, okay, we got to figure out who's going to play goal for us next year, and we got our center, and let's see where we go from here?
Yeah, that's it. We gotta replace 60 games in net. That's no big deal there. And the backup's a free agent too, by the way. I think what it immediately does in that potential scenario is Josh Morrissey's future hangs in the balance. And it's difficult to say because we don't necessarily know like what's in Morrissey's head. But I think the immediate first move after that is a conversation between Cheveldayoff and Morrissey, and it's like, look, obviously you saw what happened here. Do you want to be a part of this or not? Like, I don't, it's not going to be a situation that drags out into the final year of his deal. It's like, we kind of have to act now, I think, if you're Winnipeg. So that would be the next big domino, is just like, do you kind of do like a Godfather and just bam, 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 make a couple of shocking moves across the league? Or do you let it play out a little bit and see where things lie, after the season takes place? I think Morrissey, if that does take place, you can't sign Josh Morrissey to an extension until July 1 a year from now. Mm-hmm. But I think he would then become the most coveted trade piece as of now across the NHL, whether it's at the draft or whether it's at this upcoming trade deadline. I think it just immediately puts a major, major spotlight onto that. And I'll tell you what, though, Hus, like for all the people saying, banging the rebuild or the tank drum, you look around the NHL, there's not too many teams that are, to an extent, throwing in the towel. So it would be some short-term pain, no doubt about it. But like, there would be the potential for the Jets to, if they moved on from some of their core pieces here, the potential to grab a really high pick next year and what looks to be a really, really strong draft to go along with the 7th and 9th picks and this year's draft. Like, it could be one of those quick turnarounds as opposed to a 7-8 year slog through hockey hell. So it's like, it's not a one-off trade where you make the Hellebuyck move potentially and it's like, okay, we just kind of go about our bit. It's like, this is franchise altering. So like, you really need to think about all the ramifications that come with it, because you have Morrissey and, I mean, who knows, even with Scheifele and Connor at that point, like they signed up to be playoff competitors, not potentially leading the way in a rebuild. So I don't think it's a move that's made in a vacuum. I think there would be a lot of fallout that I don't know if a lot of Jets fans are totally aware of what just might take place.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say from the Jets' point of view, and again, just going back to our fictional Hellebuyck trade, where you get your second line center and a guy that, I mean, just for people that are wondering about who's Anton Lundell, I mean, he's a guy with a couple rings. He's 24 years old, and he signed for 4 more seasons at $5 million. I mean, he has one of the best contracts in the league. You're trading one of the best contracts in the league for him. Would presumably solve that top 6 center problem that we've been talking about forever. And at least for 4 seasons, you've got a talented young player that, certainly helps you on the ice. The picks are great, and the picks probably don't help this season. So yes, are you taking a step back from what your expectations were at the start of the year? For sure, like last season. But I don't think that these moves would be made and the idea would be, oh, we're going to really suck this year and we're getting a top 5 pick. Like, I honestly think that they would make the moves in the hopes that, you're completely changing a lot of pieces on your team, but that you might be better moving forward. And now competing for a cup next year, I mean, probably not. I mean, I don't think you could possibly make that argument. But at the same point, being competitive, being in the mix, trying to make the playoffs with maybe a younger roster and going from there. Like, to me, those trades don't immediately make the Winnipeg Jets. If Kevin Cheveldayoff gets the price, and I don't think he's trading any of these guys if he doesn't get his price, as like a bottom feeder, one of the worst teams in the National Hockey League.
I mean, that's fair. A big part of it, though, is going to be one who plays a net for you next year.
That. Yes,
so,
you're right.
I think, and as a fan of a franchise that historically has had, let's say, subpar goaltending, Hustler, I don't know if I've always had a nagging feeling that I've kept to myself that I really think the Jets have, in a lot of ways, undervalued what Hellebuyck has brought to the table. That you could just print out 60-game seasons of top 5 goaltending year in and year out, just and think of where this team. Obviously, he wasn't great this past season, but like that's just tough to like. If you have next year, even if things go like, oh, you know what, we got this guy who's a platoon guy looking for a bit more opportunity, this up and comer, they're going to be our 1-2 punch, and they put up an .890 save percentage through 80 games.
That'll get you into the top 5.
That'll get you into the top 5 real quick, despite your best intentions. So there's so much that could happen. But then the flip side is, hey, maybe you pick up 2 guys, they give you 9-15, and the team's in a great spot. So it's a difficult thing to play out, but I just personally, I just don't know if it would stop it at Hellebuyck. That would be my concern or main wonder, is just what the dominoes that fall after that and how quickly they potentially could fall.
No, it is a great point. I mean, with Hellebuyck, albeit on an off season, compared to the incredible standard that he's set year after year after year, they did manage to, with a strong finish to the season, still pick 8th. So maybe they could be in the mix for that. Bottom line is, this is a very different world we'll be living in here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, if 37 isn't part of the equation moving forward. And as I say, it's something I don't really want to talk about it, but we're sort of forced to talk about it right now. And I think it could be a reality as we hear more smoke around the National Hockey League. And of course, that's only going to heat up as we get closer to the first round of picks in a few weeks up in Buffalo once the Cup Final is done. Brandon, great stuff as always. On your way out, who will be hoisting the Stanley Cup? Is it Carolina or is it Vegas? Because I have no freaking idea.
I'll stick with my original pick, and to further the angst, I'll say Nikolai Ehlers takes home Conn Smythe as the Carolina Hurricanes win the Stanley Cup in Game 7.
Hey, pal, have a great one. Thanks for doing this as always.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon, guys. See ya.
All right, great stuff with Brandon. Folks, I can't believe tomorrow is the World Cup kickoff game. And Canada's first game, as we mentioned, get ready, wear your red to Boston Pizza, is Friday afternoon. If you don't have your red yet, go straight to Royal Sports. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 and get geared up to support our squad at the biggest sporting event of the year. Royal Sports at 750 Pembina Highway is your Canada Soccer and FIFA World Cup headquarters with the biggest and best selection you'll find anywhere of Team Canada and Canadian men's national team licensed merch, many jerseys with some of the top players on the teams, hoodies, scarves, hats, you name it. Royal Sports has it. You know you're going to want to be supporting the home team when things get going on Friday. So make your way down to Royal and get ready for World Cup kickoff at Royal Sports. While you're there, check out the soccer, softball, baseball, tennis sections, the best selection of athletic footwear in the city, and of course, a massive selection of bikes to make the most of these beautiful months of the Manitoba summer, including e-bikes. It's all waiting for you at Manitoba Sports Superstore, Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Follow them on Instagram as well at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Well, we were down at the ballpark last night. We got a chance to see a crazy ass storm, we weren't able to see a ball game, and that's why they're back at it tonight. Hopefully the weather will hold off for the Fish, but we got a double header. So if you want to do a little double dip, 5:30 is the start time tonight. I'm not sure whether they'll run back all the cool things they were doing for Country Night last night that unfortunately had to be aborted. But get on down there. By the way, little insider info. We tried the Korean fried chicken rice bowl yesterday from the Seoul Bistro. Wow. Amazing. Highly recommended. You can pick that up at the game. And of course, they're playing tonight, a doubleheader, and then tomorrow before heading out on the road. But if you haven't already got your tickets for the WST patio party, do not wait. Go to winnipegsportstalk.com and grab your tickets. Tuesday, June 30th. Going to be an absolutely awesome night. We sold it out last year. Looking forward to doing it again. And of course, the next day is Canada Day. So you won't be working. We'll be off. So what a great day to get together with fellow WSTers in the summer. Grab your friends, grab your family, grab your tickets, winnipegsportstalk.com for our June 30th WST patio party at the Gold Eyes. We're actually going to be doing a show live tomorrow at Travel Manitoba at the Forks. Looking forward to that with some special guests dropping by. But hey, if you are planning your next adventure, start with Travel Manitoba. Whether you're searching for road trip inspiration, hidden gems, or the latest festivals and events, everything you need is waiting at travelmanitoba.com. Looking for ideas on the go? Follow Travel Manitoba on social media at Travel Manitoba for real-time inspiration, local tips, and can't miss experiences from across the province. Or if you want a personal touch, stop by the Visitor Information Center at the Forks in Winnipeg. That's where we'll be tomorrow to get ready for the Bomber home opener. And of course, summer ahead. And the Gold Eyes weren't the only ones that got rained out last night. Our friends at Assiniboia Downs got as pretty much everyone did. Nothing was happening productive in the city last night. But they'll be back at it tonight, post time, 7:30 p.m. We'll wrap the show with some picks from the track coming up a little bit later on the program. Again, asdowns.com or assiniboiadowns.com for more information. And don't forget, we do have wiener dog races, July 13th, maybe the most anticipated day of the season. That's one of the Mondays with the great deals on concessions as well. All right, Pat Gregoire is going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Remo, right off the top, we went over the Bomber depth chart, which is quite similar to last week's roster. A couple changes on the D line, but we did hear a little bit from Coach Mike O'Shea, and a lot of talk about Tim White. One of the new additions to the receiving corps seemed to really look good with Zach Caleros early on in the season. Here's what O'Shea had to say about how the veteran wide receiver Tim White has fit in early in his Winnipeg tenure.
Well, I think he understands the system, so he's going to be right a lot. I mean, for quarterbacks, not that I'm standing back there, but for quarterbacks, they do appreciate, besides, supreme athleticism, they really appreciate when guys are right and they're where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. It makes their job a lot easier, So Tim, obviously, very professional, terrific work ethic, and he understands the system and what Tommy's asking everybody to do. So I think that puts him on the same page with the quarterback pretty quickly.
All right, yeah, of course, he's got some history with Tommy Condell, and he's together. Zach Caleros got his guy, maybe receiver, but certainly OC, and it looked pretty darn good with that thrilling walk-off win in Calgary to begin the season. Now, I'm really looking forward to this game tomorrow night for a multitude of reasons. But, we've talked a lot of weather on the program and just around here lately. When we look at the weather for tomorrow, it's not particularly good, folks. High of 18, showers or thunderstorms. Now, the fans will pull through it. I have no doubt. will fill that place and be behind the Bombers in their opener. I do wonder what that does to the game, though. And I would count on a lot of Brady Oliveira, and a lot of it will be thanks to the new look offensive line. Now, we saw Broxton make his debut looking good on the right side, but Stanley Bryant still getting it done. The best of the best, maybe the best to ever do it. Here's a little bit of Mike O'Shea on Stanley Bryant's play and his incredible longevity.
Well, he's unbelievably talented. Or if you've been around long enough, believably talented. I don't know how you describe it. We've witnessed it. He's just really, really, really good. You know, the argument's there to say he's the best to ever play that position in the CFL. So I think there was times where he just made it look very easy, right? Like he knows how to play the game. He knows what to look for in opponents. And, you know, he's changed things up and gotten better as he's gone along. And he's still out there, still got the desire to compete at the highest level. And not just compete, he's not out there to compete. He's out there to win, you know, his reps against his opponent. So he still has that, and he's still really, really good.
One of his strengths is he seems to be able to laugh at himself and be critical. Just in there now, he's mad about giving up that sack early, but I guess he settled down after that. But that's kind of a skill too, don't you think?
It's interesting you said that, because when you first asked the question, the first thing I thought of was he's a pretty joyful individual. You know, I think he has fun doing what he's doing. And I think it makes it easier for him to come to work every day, because, you know, not every day's great. Your body doesn't feel great every day post-game, you know. But I think he's a happy guy that enjoys what he's doing, and he's just really, he's so damn good at it, you know. And you pair those two things together, I think it's probably easy to do this for a long time.
All right, there is Coach O'Shea. Bombers remain as 3.5-point favorites at Coolbet, minus 105 on the point spread, and minus 179 on the money line. We do have the CFL 110 parlay up right now. Got a very nice boost on it. We got the Bombers minus 3.5, Alouettes minus 6.5, BC plus 2.5. That is boosted from plus 593 to plus 681 up in the combo cards with a whole lot with the World Cup beginning tomorrow. Let's bring in my guy, Pat Gregoire, P. Greggy himself from Coolbet. And Pat, you've been in Ireland. I was fishing. It is great to get the band back together on WST. And we've got a lot to cover. We got a big golf tournament, our National Open, of course, the World Cup. But right off the hop, we got Goldeyes games back on Coolbet.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Yes, I was gallivanting like Jake was the month previously, but it's time to lock in. This is usually the dog days of summer, but this summer of 26 is completely different. And what a better way to transition into things is the Goldeyes. We're back. Coolbet is officially the home of Canadian minor league baseball. We got the Golden Eyes for our folks on the West Coast. We've got Vancouver Canadians. So any folks also interested in maybe some of the younger Blue Jays prospects, you can catch them there. There are some other leagues as well. The Quebec League, we've got that. If there's a league that you follow and it's not on Coolbet, hit us up. Hit me up at P. Greggy, at Coolbet Canada, at Jake Bull and Moss. Heck, you can even tell Huss, and we'll make sure that baseball league is up and running, because I'm pretty sure we've got almost all of these leagues covered when it comes to baseball here in Canada.
Now, our day at the ballpark was cut short yesterday, well documented. So tonight's first pitch is 5:30. It's a doubleheader. The first game is up. Goldeyes minus 154, Cleburne Railroaders plus 115. And Pat, you know, I mentioned Connor and I cranked out our CFL 110 parlay, which, again, thank you for the beautiful boost. I think we're going back-to-back this week, or at least that's my intention. But not too late for people to get in on the weekly pick'em contest. You've only missed 3 games. It goes for every game of the regular season. We congratulations again to Ted Lai 2 and Bam Bams, who split the $50 prize for week 1. But the key is to do it every week and get in now if you haven't already, because you could win a trip for 2 to the Grey Cup in Calgary. Hopefully to see the Bombers get back there for the 6th time in the 7th year.
Absolutely. And like, look, the way that the point structure is formatted, if you get one of these games correct, like you're talking about 20 points and you can completely jump the leaderboard. So missing out on week 1, not really a big deal. Of course, I want you to get your picks in for week number 2. And it looks like already 41 participants in week number 2 already. And actually we've already seen some new faces in this as well. So
Great.
That means there still are some people in round 1 that had participated, haven't made their picks yet, but you get a chance each week. The winner will get $50, but most importantly, you mentioned it, that Grey Cup experience, your hotel, your travel accommodations, your tickets to the game. There's a good chance you're going to be hanging out with the Coolbet gang. Haas will get boots on the ground with you as well. But if not, even if you don't win that prize, second place, $500 bonus on Coolbet. Third place, $250 bonus. And I know I see JBM's DMs and everyone sliding in. How do I get the cool merch? How do I get the cool merch? Well, if you finish in 4th and 5th, you can also get some pretty sweet Coolbet gear as well.
Now, for those of you that haven't been there before, it's totally free, but you have to have a Coolbet account. So go in and sign up. If you've already played there, you don't need to do anything other than just go to the main page. I usually use my desktop. So on the desktop, go to the main page, down to the bottom left, you'll see sports. Underneath sports is Coolbet League. Click on that. You'll see the WST logo. You'll see win the trip to the Grey Cup. That's where you want to click. Get your picks in for week 2. And as I told everyone right off the bat, don't miss your picks. Just put a little weekly reminder to pop up on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Did you do your picks? And if you haven't, you'll go in and get there. You won't miss it, and you'll be right there with everyone all year long. If you are doing it on your phone, what you're going to want to do is go down to the bottom. You'll see a little thing that says more in the bottom right corner. Touch on that, and then under sports, it'll either be there. You might just need to slide to the right, and you'll see the WST logo. So get those picks in, and good luck to all of you trying to win your way to the Grey Cup courtesy of Coolbet. And just, Patty, before we get into the golf and the soccer, speaking of amazing Coolbet experiences and trips, we may have the granddaddy of them all coming up a little later on. Looking forward to launching a WST Summer Poker Series similar to what we did for the Costa Rica trip in winter. And this one, and you can fill me on it because you've been out there before, a trip to Tallinn, Estonia for the Coolbet Open. And I have been privy to some photos of previous events at the Coolbet Open, and this looks like legitimately like the trip of a lifetime. We'll roll out the dates in the next couple days. We're looking to start it not next week, but the following week, and put 4 contests together where if you qualify, you'll be in the final, and someone is going to be heading out to beautiful Estonia for, as I said, the trip of a lifetime.
Yeah, a lot of the folks out in that area of the world say it's like the hidden gem of the Northern European poker tour. Like, we're talking like this is one of the best events in that area of the country, and it's not just folks from Estonia and Sweden and people from all over the world come to this event to check this out. We had some folks from Canada, myself and Ange were out there. We enjoyed ourselves. We had some other winners that were there, some customers that made their way, and we figured, let's expand it this year because yes, you're right. This is such an awesome tournament. So basically though, it runs from September 1st to the 6th. So you'll get, it's not just the tournament itself. Sure, you'll get your buy-in to the main event. We'll cover your flights and your hotel accommodation. Your hotel will be right on the grounds where the poker event is. So you'll have your hotel there. But there's also other events that goes on. There's some other poker games that you can buy and some cash games. The poker golf event, which is one of my favorite events each and every year. Some great dinners. And like like Huss was saying, with many times since 2 years on Costa Rica, you get to meet other folks from all across the world, other cool bettors, whether they work for Coolbet, they play on Coolbet. Really is such a cool event. So we're excited to do that. The dates will come out. So basically, you enter in just like a normal Coolbet WST poker event. You'll have your buy-in, you play, and then a certain amount. We haven't fully ironed out the details, but if, let's say, you win or you finish top 2, you'll then advance to the Canadian qualifier, which will be at the end, and that'll be about 10 to 12 players that will have a play down ultimately for that final prize pack. And it's last year was the first year I went. They've been begging me to come year after year. I finally went. After day 2, I already told my boss, I said, hey, listen, mark me down for next year. I got to come back because it is such a sweet event. I'm not even a big poker player, man. But the poker itself is great, but everything around it. And if you haven't been, which I'm probably pretty sure anyone in the chat hasn't, because it's such a small country, but Estonia is beautiful. Tallinn, I just spent a time in Dublin. Last summer, I was all over Europe. Tallinn is a hidden gem in Europe. It is a beautiful city. The people are great. The food is awesome. And these people sure know how to put on a party. You
can take the ferry across to Finland as well and maybe track down Patrick Lanning and see what he's up to in the off season as well. Going to be really cool. I'll just tease this. I'm going to confirm this in the next day once we get things set up. But we're likely going to go with 2 Tuesdays, 2 Wednesdays. We know some people might have slow pitch or men's night for golf. So we want to give a couple of opportunities to make sure you can get in on the tournament. And in 2 weeks, likely the 23rd of June, I think we'll do a Tuesday, and then we'll just alternate from Tuesdays and Wednesdays sort of every second week. And the final will likely be the 11th or 12th that week in August. And then first week in September, heading out to Tallinn, Estonia to represent Canada at the Coolbet Open. Patty, the nations everyone will be going to Estonia. Right now, everyone's coming here to North America, Mexico, USA, and right here in Canada. The World Cup is about to get going. And listen, we realize that Canada is not a preeminent soccer nation, although I think we're getting more and more down that road as our teams get better. The women have done incredible things. The excitement about this Canadian team and this opportunity playing at home is unlike anything I felt as a fan of the national team for a long time. And we are just a couple days away from kicking off in Toronto, Canada, Bosnia. And that's been a huge focus. Before we even get to some of our picks and things out there, you guys have been cranking out the super boost for Canada each and every day this week, so we can be, maybe get a little bit of extra juice on some of these Canadian bets that everyone wants the team to support.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, look at those combo cards, take a peek there. Each and every day we're going to have a different one, but we also have our other exclusives. So you go down to that sidebar and the MNT, Canadian Men's National Team specials, you can check those out. So you can bet on the team top scorer, Canada's stage of elimination, odds for them to each where they do advance as well. So you can check those out. But then there's also the Canada Men's National exclusives as well in those exclusives. So you can check all of those out there. There's also World Cup boost as well. So right now we've got Canada win the group plus 245. We got Canada to beat Bosnia. Right now, this is the best number on the planet. You're not going to get a better number right now for them to win outright, plus 200. For those who think maybe it's finally coming home, well, this is literally the best number. This is a super boost, to say the least. England to win the World Cup, 10-1. Right now, I think the regular price is somewhere around plus 700, plus 750. So you're getting a really good one here. And then this one's a lot of fun as well. 1 goal to be scored in every single match of the World Cup in regulation is 100-1. So probably one that's not going to cash, but maybe one that might be a little bit fun to sweat out.
Nobody wants 0-0 ties.
No, exactly. So, that's a way we can have fun, cheer for goals. Doesn't matter which teams you're watching, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's funny talking about travel and everything. I was in, like I said, was in Ireland, went all over, and two times two separate times. One in Dublin, I went to go buy an Ireland jersey, and the guy looked at me and said, "Why are you buying an Ireland jersey? We didn't even qualify this year." And so I said, I'm here. I got to grab a kit. And so we get talking, and he's like, where are you from? From the US or Canada? I said, Canada. He goes, "You guys got a really good team." And he was hyping us up, talking about Davies, if he'd stay healthy. And so he's hyping it up. Then, sure enough, 2-3 days later, down in Galway, another city, and same thing, talking to a guy, and I say, Canada. He says, "You know what? I really like your guys' chances in the World Cup." And I'll be honest, I'd rather you guys go far than Mexico or the US. But I think we're being really humble here in this country right now. And I don't know if it's the previous scars or, you were there, boots on the ground in Qatar. I think there was just so much hype and promise around that team, and maybe a false sense of hope with where we were there. I think a lot of people are guarded right now, but with the way their group is set up and with the way that the new format is, where there's more teams advancing, I feel like there should be more hype for this Canada team to have success. And yes, I know the injuries and, Davies missing probably the first match. I don't know. For me, Huss, I feel like we're selling these Canadians a little bit short, considering, yes, their history, and we have never won one of these games. Maybe if they beat Bosnia, that changes. But I feel like we're being very, very guarded right now.
Yeah, listen, it's all systems go. Let's get this first win, hopefully against Bosnia, beat the hell out of the Qataris. And then, if that is, and this is to me why it's all about Friday. You have to win against Qatar. They should win against Qatar. If you can win this game on home soil in Toronto and get that second win, you'll have 6 points. You'll be guaranteed at moving through. But then you end up taking on the Swiss in a game that potentially, even with a draw, depending on tiebreakers, Canada could win the group, cash those boosted tickets, but maybe more importantly, play another home game in the round of 32. So I can't wait for it. I mean, I know that there are some options where we can kind of bet the teams to go deep. As far as the winners go right now, though, we've got France and Spain as the co-favorites at plus 475. Then England and Portugal at 8-1. Brazil and Argentina at plus 950. Germany 14-1. Netherlands 20-1. And then we get into Norway and Belgium. Interestingly, Belgium at 45. The first game that we saw last year was Canada versus Belgium. And at that point, Belgium, I believe, was ranked number 2 in the world. Now, those rankings sometimes are a little dated, and maybe they were certainly a top 10 team. And then when you think about the other teams that Canada had to play, Morocco and Croatia, both of those teams made it to the Final Four. So they really were in a very tough group. This one, I think, especially with the Italians losing to Bosnia, it sets up very well for our Canadian team. And, while it might be a long shot at 250-1 to win the whole thing, I do think the Canadians can really open the eyes. Now, there's a bunch of World Cup specials that we've got right now going through the list. Here are the interesting ones. I was going to maybe put a couple of these together, but I think the soccer team has done such a good job. Let's roll into the specials. Here's a funny one. Will England win a penalty shootout in the World Cup?
Yeah.
It's void if there's no penalty shootout. That one's at minus 105. But some nice sort of value plays. For instance, Spain, Argentina, and England to win their groups. All heavy favorites, plus 130. Brazil, Germany, Belgium, and Spain, plus 245. France, Argentina, Portugal, and England, plus 315. I actually love the one of the host teams. Now, USA has Turkey, Canada has Switzerland, but host teams traditionally do very well early on. And Canada, USA, and Mexico to win their groups, plus 1275.
Yeah, that one kind of piqued my interest. We all know how FIFA also likes to to work in their ways to maybe play favorites to some of the hosts. Perhaps Qatar was a bit too big of an ask, but hey, listen, there is nothing that they would want more than some of these home nations to go through. But I think they also, let's be honest, I think they have a good chance based on the groups. We talked about Canada's group. Mexico, I think they play the most games on, like their games being on home soil. But the fact of the matter is, based upon their path, their other thing too is a lot of these games are at altitude in the heat. Like, how many teams are they going to go up against have played in that? Like Czechia, I actually like their team a lot, but I think that's going to be a really difficult match for them. So I think home floor or home field advantage will really play a big factor in this. So I really like that. I don't like necessarily Japan to win their group, but Japan's a team that I'm pretty high on.
Yes.
The brand of soccer that they play. So them maybe to get to the group of 16 or maybe parlay them to the group of 32 might be a look that we might need to have if we're going to build a parlay. But you're totally right, man. A shout out to our soccer team back at HQ. They have absolutely knocked out all these specials. It's actually kind of overwhelming going through. So if you're rushing around and you have something to do, I don't advise you do it. Sit down, grab a frosty beverage, look through these, comb through these, because there are a lot of really fun options.
You know what? Why don't we do this? Because I'm with you. I was going to bring up the Japanese. I've been reading up and I've seen some really good. I mean, that's one of the things with the soccer being such a massive sport worldwide. I mean, there are so many breakdowns of teams and, some pretty smart people really like the way the Japanese are playing. They're coming in now. I can't remember who's in their group. Oh, the Netherlands is in their group. So it may be difficult to win. What do we think about this, Patty, for a little parlay we put together? Canada and Japan both to reach the round of 16. So essentially the Canadians and the Japanese to get out of their group and win their first knockout game. Would be a huge success for the Canadian team. I think that they can do it. And I certainly think that the Japanese, even if they don't win that group, they come in, they'll likely be second at worst. A very good chance at winning that first matchup and then moving on to the round of 16.
The thing is, they also have Tunisia in that group, which is not easy as well. But with the format, Haas, we can't forget, if you come in third place, doesn't mean you're packing your bags and going home anymore. And the fact of the matter is, I think if they would probably be one of the best third place teams on paper as it is. So even if they don't get to second, which I think they do, and I think they are a plucky underdog against that Netherlands team just off the way that they play. I love this. And of course, is it going to be difficult for Canada to get through? No doubt about it. But this is possibly the best bet and most fun bet you can have. You're cheering for the home side. You're being patriotic. And then arguably the most fun team to watch in this entire tournament in Japan. We get to root for them to go to the group 16. I love this one.
Japan to reach the round of 16 on its own, plus 150. Canada plus 132. Which makes me so fired up because normally in other lives, Pat, Canada to reach the group of 16 would have been 25-1. And it kind of shows that not only do we have an advantage of being at home, but this team and the talent that we have has really arrived.
Yeah, and let's be honest too. I think that the way that they're built, the way that Jesse Marsh has coached this team, talk about Japan being an exciting team. Canada, not so much, not nearly as an exciting team, a much more sound defensive team. But, they're a team that also can break it open. We've seen it how many times, in dying moments of games, then they unload the clip and then they kind of unleash the hounds and have that all out assault. But a very athletic group, a very well coached group, and a group that I think, like I said, is not getting nearly as enough hype as they probably should. And maybe that's our polite Canadian nature or us also just sheltering ourselves from disappointment from yesteryear. But I got to tell you, this is not your grandfather's Team Canada anymore.
We're going with the Reds and we're going with the Blue Samurai for our parlay. We'll put that together. Now, just quick note, if you're with us live on YouTube right now, there's a link. Remis has pinned the link. If you missed the sign up, it'll take you right to the free CFL contest. So make sure to get that in. And Pat, next week on Tuesday In the morning, we'll fire it up with the live WST winners and dive into the U.S. Open. It's major time again on the PGA Tour. But before that happens, we have the Canadian Open in your neck of the woods. Well, it really isn't your neck of the woods. It seemed like it took
Not quite.
effort to get there last year. We went out there, and let's just say it was a logistics nightmare and a bit of a disaster early on. But they are back at Osprey Village at TPC Toronto for the event. And our guy, Tommy Ladd, is the top of the table when it comes to odds. Do you think there's going to be many people out there? I mean, we went through it last year. I have major doubts that we're going to see the normal crowds you see at a PGA Tour event because of just how damn hard it is for people to actually get there and take it in.
I can tell you Friday is probably going to see an all tournament low, considering that is also the same day, the same afternoon as Canada, Bosnia. So if you're from the downtown core or anywhere around there, good luck trying to get up to TPC Toronto. It's unfortunate. And if there is any sort of weather, that also could be a problem too with the surrounding areas of the parking. And that's kind of what happened. Everything got flooded out and it was pretty much narrowed down to 2 parking spots. Mind you, it's year 2. I think Golf Canada probably has a better wrap around things, but you're totally right. I think there is a bit of a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. Look at me. Like,
no one more than you last year.
Dimplehead, man. Like, I love golf. Like, but I got absolutely boned sitting in the line and waiting to park, and people are turning around and leaving. And this was on day 1. Sounds like as the week progressed, it got better. But I mean, the guys on the PME Experience and Jeff and Pat do a really good job talking about this thing. And I'm not just pandering to the other side of the country because I've said it on this program before. I've said it on other programs. Listen, do I love that every single year, except for this year, I'm able to just drive down the 401 and go to a different event, whether it's, at Glen Abbey or if it's at Hamilton or Rosedale in Toronto or wherever it may be, or TPC Toronto here. The fact of the matter is this is the Canadian Open. This isn't the Toronto Open. This isn't the Ontario Open. Why are we not going to other locations across the country? It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand it's very difficult with the tour, having to be on certain areas of the country and making guys fly all the way out to Calgary or Winnipeg or BC doesn't make sense. But the fact of the matter is, if this is a national open, I think we got to make it a real national open and showcase all the amazing golf courses that we have across this country.
Amen to that. Get it out west. And I thought Feinberg made a great point when he was talking about this. Like, a year that the U.S. Open is on the West Coast, how in the world did they not take this thing to one of the beautiful courses in Alberta or BC and have it meet there? It didn't make a lot of sense. That being said, we got a better number on Tommy, too. I see our guy, Mr. Fleetwood, is up to 12-1. Here's how the board's looking for the RBC Canadian Open. Tommy Ladd, 12-1. Sam Burns and Matt Fitzpatrick, 14-1. Wyndham Clark, who's really rounding into form, he's 20-1 along with Colin Morikawa. And then Brooks Koepka, Chris Ryden, Justin Rose, our guy Rosie, 25-1. Højgaard and Shane Lowry, 28, along with former champ Bobby Mack. 33s include Alex Fitzpatrick, Alex Noren, Aaron Rye, major champion, and Victor Hovland. Then it continues down. First off, just on the Canadians, Nick Taylor, 40-1. I cannot believe that we are getting a 66 on Corey Connors at the National Open. I mean, I realize he hasn't had a great year so far, but this is the sort of event that means a lot to him. I mean, you could argue, obviously the guy wants to win a major, but winning the Canadian Open would be the next best thing than, winning one of those 4 majors. And for a course that relies so much on iron play, short game, and not necessarily putting, I kind of think that Corey's very much live in this, and we're getting a wild number for a guy that in past years, I think last year he was around 20.
Yeah, and listen, everyone remembers Nick Taylor's unbelievable moment and what a big moment that was for Canadian golf. But I despite for how much of a dog he is, and I've talked about how Nick Taylor just, he is a fierce competitor.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you polled a lot of people, though, you said who would be the first Canadian to win a Canadian Open in X amount of years, Corey Connors would have been, number one in a landslide. And it was just Nick Taylor who was able to do that. And I'm sure, there's no doubt these guys are so tight and they are like, brothers on the tour. They're traveling with each other. Their wives are friends. Their kids now are friends. A part of it probably does eat Corey Connors alive that he, wasn't the one to do it and break that skid. And to be honest, it's eaten him alive that he hasn't had a good year this year. I think he's only got one top 20, but a lot can change when you're playing in front of family and friends and you're playing a course that you're very familiar with. And yes, you're right. This is all about shot making. A lot of it is also being an absolute bomber off the tee, which certainly is not Corey's game, but he's also super accurate off the tee. And we know what he can do with his long irons and his short irons. So I think this course fits out well for him. I think obviously it being the national tournament does a lot for him as well. But like you said, you're just looking at that number. I can't remember the last time we've been at this tournament and we've saw something even shorter than 45, 35. Like this is absolute banana lands. But with that being said, he's not on my outright card, but if we're going to build a parlay, I don't mind him being a part of it.
Yeah, I'm going to take, we don't even need him, but I'm not betting Corey Connors at 66 in the Canadian Open straight up. For my outrights, I usually go above 20-1. I'm thinking about Sam Burns. He was very good last year and was right there before your guy Foxy took it at the end. But I do like Brooks in this event. I mean, he's ready to pop. I got a piece of Brooks Koepka at 25. I'm gonna roll with Rosie. He had me with his Instagram AI post of coming to the Canadian Open with the Rockies in the background. I like those two at 25. I love a top 20, maybe a top 10 for not Matt Fitzpatrick, but Alex Fitzpatrick. And as you go down the list, if you do want to jump on the Canadians, 40 for Nick Taylor, 66 for Corey. And then one other guy, speaking of bombers, a guy that has contended before that I will be getting a little piece of, Thorbjornsen, 40-1, nukes it. And you do need some length here. Who's on the outright card before we build our parlay?
I'm with Brooks as well, but part of me would prefer him to win next week at Shinnecock. I just feel like, though, this could set up really well for him. So if I've got him 25-1, he's on my Griggy's golf special as well. But I mean, this would be a play. I'd suggest people getting a piece at, top 5, top 10. Like, I think we see Brooks pop. The flat stick is finally starting to cooperate. I think if he was just not losing strokes each and every round, we'd be talking about him already winning or contending. There's been 4 rounds where he has not lost strokes and gained strokes with the putter. He's finished inside the top 20 each and every time. 2 weeks was one of them. So I'm at Brooks. I also like Nikolai Hogard. You talk about bombers. Pat Mayo's boy, Ryan Noonan, had a really great stat here. He leads the entire field over the past 12 months in strokes gained total on long courses with easy scoring conditions. So yes, if the wind doesn't blow and the conditions are great, this course is literally made for Hojgaard. Here's the caveat though, Huss. He's a European. He has played on the European Tour, the DP World Tour. He's played in windy, wet conditions. So even if we do start to see the winds blow, this is a guy that has the capabilities, the shot making to do it. And at 28-1, really, really like that number. Would not be a golf corner on WST without our guy, the pride of Manitoba, Old Yella, Chardushian McGavin. Hell of a rookie season this guy is having. And we want to talk about all the disappointment that the Canadians are having. This has been the one guy that has been flying the flag proud. He has been by far the best Canadian on tour, and it's not particularly close. 6 top 20s. He's a lead off the tee, 5th in total driving, 29th in stroke gained off the tee, and 21st in driving distance. Him at being a rookie winning the National Open is difficult. 66-1, I'm willing to swallow that. But my favorite bet of the week, his top 20 number, Huss, plus 225. I just finished.
20 machine.
He's finished 6 times in the top 20. You're telling me at a course that needs you to be a masher, that needs you to make shots in his backyard in Canada, you're giving me plus 225. Absolute no-brainer. No-brainer for me. I'd be thinking about him to be the top Canadian as well. The only thing that scares me is one of the vets stepping up and having a big week. But I'll round out the card, and it is Bombers Paradise. TPC Toronto, everyone's talking about. You got to be long off the tee. You got to be. Look at what Ryan Fox was able to do last year. No one's talking about this guy. The biggest bomber on tour, Aldrich Potgieter, 80-1, and nobody. You look all around golf Twitter. You look at Golf's Tipper, everything on X. Like, this guy's nowhere to be found. I don't know if I'm missing something, but at 80-1 at this golf course, give it to me all day long. Like, I don't even want to think about this. This was my first quick click this week, and I think this golf course sets up perfectly for him.
Take a bomb on the bomber on Aldrich Potgieter, the South African, at 80-1. All right. Well, listen, I think what do you think about this for the parlay for the Sunday Sweat Club?
Let's hear
Canadian content, Sudarshan. Love it even more than Corey. Like, I think Corey could maybe win, but Sudarshan at plus 225 is awesome. Let's put in your boy Højgaard. I think he sets up perfectly for this. And on that same note, what would you think about adding Alex Fitzpatrick to it, who just came over from the DP World Tour, who's had phenomenal results so far, trying to catch his big bro Matt, playing with tons of confidence. What do you think about that?
Oh, I love that. What was he, T6 last week? I think he's honestly like, I think I love that. I love that play. I love it.
Like, Fitzpatrick alone is plus 166. Sudarshan is plus 225, and Højgaard is plus 132. So this is going to be a banger, but I think that we've got a really good chance of having these guys in the mix and sniffing around that top 20 on Sunday.
Absolutely. And before we do get rolling here, there are some golf specials, not just in the combos. If you go to the exclusives as well, there are some Canadian Open specials. Also, before that, if you go into the nation specials, first and foremost, you'll see all the Canadian, every single Canadian that's in the field, odds for them to make the cut. Over, under Canadians to make the cut. Canadians in the top 10, top 5, you name it. So we got all that. But if you go to the exclusives, we got a few other ones. And because you mentioned the Fitzpatrick brothers, so that reminded me. So we'll start things off. The front runners, Fleetwood or Burns to win the Canadian Open, plus 700. Fits like a glove, either of the Fitzpatrick brothers to win the RBC Canadian Open, 11-1. I love this, and I would play it 1,000%. Good fences make good neighbors, Wyndham Clark or Colin Morikawa to win, 12-1. Norwegian Invasion, Rattan or Hovland to win, 16-1. And then the friendly rivalry, Shane Lowry, who has become a staple at this Canadian Open event, and Brooks Koepka, either of them to win at 18-1.
Oh, I love that number considering what we're getting. I mean, Brooks is 25, Lowry's 28. I mean, 18 on both of those guys. A great number. Pat's on Alex Fitzpatrick too.
Yes, he is. I forgot about that, yeah.
If you want a piece of Alex Fitzpatrick, and I did not know this, I'm definitely going to be jumping on this. 48-1 from 33. That's the PME Weekly Boost. It's right there in the corner. Get into it all. And by the way, we talked about all these other great trips. We told you before, make sure you're locked in for the golf trip of a lifetime. Any golf bettors, before you make your wagers, go to the promo tab. Make sure you've opted in, because you're going to be getting 5 times your ballots for bets on the Canadian Open. All golf bets get 5 times, and you could win a trip for you and 3 of your buddies for the golf trip of a lifetime out to Cape Breton and Cabot Links and Cabot Cliffs. It doesn't get any better than that. Patty, great stuff as always. Can't wait for the U.S. Open show next Tuesday. And in the meantime, we'll get ready for kickoff on Friday afternoon for the World Cup and the RBC Canadian Open. This was a lot of fun. I will look forward to talking, maybe even seeing you very soon. And we'll do it up on Tuesday when we get going for the U.S. Open with a special edition of WST Winners. Thanks for everything, dude.
Thanks to you for you guys for everything, and what a time to be alive! Like, what a time to be on Coolbet, man. It's going to be a great week.
Let's go. Take it easy, Pat. There's a Pat, and as he said, at P Gregoire on X, at Jake Bolin Moss. If you want odds or you want a special combo, the boys are usually pretty good about getting that up. It's all there for you at coolbet.com. If you haven't played there before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. We'll double it. And don't forget, get your picks in. CFL Week 2, win a trip to the Grey Cup, totally free to play. All right, Remo, we should finish things up with some horse picks. We were even last night. Everyone was even last night because Mother Nature was certainly not letting things go off at the track.
Yes, no racing last night. Thought maybe there would be some lightning delays early, but man, that was pretty wild. A lot of things canceled, so no racing yesterday. I do have my picks in for today. Excited to get back and watching that on YouTube here this evening.
Fire away with what you're cooking for the night.
All right, I'm going on the later races. What do I have? I'm on 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to start with race 3. Let me just bring this up here.
8 races tonight, by the way.
Yes.
It should be a great night.
It's going late. The last race at 10:30. Race 3, I am on a 2, 3, 4 trifecta box. That is Dale's Magic. Wait, is that what I'm on? Yes, Dale's Magic, Judge Oliver, and American Wit.
Ooh, love those American Wit.
Want me to keep going here?
Yeah, just go through yours and then I'll rattle off mine.
Race 4, I'm picking horse 1 to win, High Miller. That's looks like 3-1 right now. Race 5, horse 5 to win. Is that what I picked? I guess I went for... Is that accurate? Okay, that's got to be a mistake.
You're looking at it.
I picked horse 5, Nay. I don't think I did. That might be a mistake. Okay, that could be a mistake. Let me go back. And then race 6 is Exacta Box 8, 9. Okay, wait. Did they change the races on me? Well, I'm looking at yesterday's. That's why. Okay, this didn't make sense. Okay, sorry. I'm on 4, 5, 7, 8. Oh, geez, that's embarrassing. Race 4, horse 1 to win, High Miller. I did have that one. Race 5, 4, 5, 6, trifecta, Queen of Altitude, Nay, and East Coast Cowgirl. It is a lot of the similar horses. That's what threw me off. Race 7, 5, 6, 7, Mylium. Had to throw this one in for World Cup. Messi the Great in the trifecta box, and Tis Romantic. And horse 8, 1, 7, Exacta box. That is Better Luck Next Time and Oliver Tis.
All right. It's funny. I got a triactor box in that one as well. I'm starting it off in race number 2, and I have $4 on number 2 to win. I believe that is Lieutenant Norm. We love Lieutenant Norm. He's been a workhorse throughout. Now, I also actually had in race 4 High Miler. I had a toonie on a High Miler. Race number 5, I'm going $4 to win on number 6, which is East Coast Cowgirl. In race number 7, I've got my triactor box. Heavy favorite is number 5, My Liam. We're going to add in Tis Romantic and number 8, Fleet of Hoof. So a 5, 7, 8 parlay for, or which I should say a triactor box for that one. And I have $4 left for the final. I think I'm just going to go with, you know what? Oliver Tis. I don't mind this one. I'm going to go let's go $2 on Oliver Tiz to win number 8. And I will go with I'm going to go a 7 with 8-5, with 8-1 and 7 with 1-8 for a couple of triactors. So that'll be the 20. We'll put it together. They go off at 7:30 p.m. and there's a bonus race tonight because of everything that got canceled last night in the show. Is basketball going on tonight, or is this an off day?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is today, 7:30, Spurs at Knicks. So we had a great game 3, and this is the pivotal game 4, which could really decide things here one way or another. Or put one team in the driver's seat, I'll say. But I saw a lot of talk about who's being at the game. They had the celeb cam. I did see Taylor Swift maybe make an appearance tonight at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if they're going to have to hold up all the entrances, but we'll have to see that works. I did love the celeb cam for the last game, Huss. It's incredible.
Yeah, listen, it was the who's who. And I know everyone blamed Trump for the security and everything, but they're doing it again tonight. So maybe someone equally as famous and important, the Queen, Taylor Swift, coming to the show. Anyways, that'll be the case. Spurs plus 110 on the money line, 2-point dogs. Knicks -2 and -130 to win. I'm rolling with the Spurs in this one again. I think we get a 2-2 series, much like we just did in the Stanley Cup Final. That's going to do it for us today, folks. What a fun show. When we fire it up tomorrow, we're going to be doing it down at the Visitor Information Center at the Forks, hooking up with our friends at Travel Manitoba. We're going to have Chris Streveler on the program before the Strevy retirement party tomorrow at the Blue Bomber game. We're going to have Rianne Marcoux, president of the Winnipeg Sea Bears, pop by as well. We're going to be talking to Ken Wiebe. We'll get into more of the Hellebuyck and Jets off-season talk. It should be a good one. So make sure to join us tomorrow. And hey, if you are around the Forks tomorrow, feel free to pop by and say hi at the Visitors Information Center at 21 Forks Market Road. Hopefully tonight will be a little more chill than last night was. But again, thoughts to everyone dealing with a flooded basement or a busted up car or flooding their communities, because that was an all-timer, and hopefully the worst is gone. That's going to do it for us. Huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. We will look forward to doing it all again tomorrow for the Blue Bomber home opener. 1 p.m. tomorrow. We'll see you then right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great night.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home! Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.